Welcome back, Doug Pagitt Radio on AM 950 and DougPagittRadio.com. Our final episode here on the AM 950 format. Mm-hmm. And over the last 135 weeks of programming, 270 hours of shows, 12,960 minutes of programming, we have had the privilege of talking with a lot of people.
Yeah.
It has been just excellent, and I couldn't be more thankful to all the people. From some of our regular contributors, including not only natural health coach Shelley Pagitt, advice guru Carla Barnhill, but also theologian Tony Jones, Rabbi Joseph,
yes,
who have filled in, who have been regular contributors. Tony is a fill-in guest, on the fill-in host rather on the program. Has just been excellent. So we thought we would maybe have the sidekick and I reflect a little bit on our favorite contributors, on our favorite guests, on the people who have made Doug Pagitt Radio, who've taken the platform and delivered the goods.
Yes.
So I put together some reflections on this. There's one particular show which wasn't really about a guest, but it was probably my favorite show, and it was a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now. The show that we did from Haiti, the Haiti show. Yeah, fantastic. It's just a real highlight, and having this format for the radio program, being able to talk to the guests that are in Minnesota on AM 950, the guests that listen around the world, and possibly even the astronauts in the space station. Even though I think we're going to have to start broadcasting in Russian if we're really going to pick up that demographic.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because I know they can do their technical work, but you want your religious radio to really come in your native language.
Right.
So we're probably going to have to do that. But the conversation around Haiti, fantastic. It was really one of my favorite shows to do. I also personally really liked our conversation with the curators and owners of the Smitten Kitten.
Oh, yes.
You remember that show? Were you around that?
She was in studio.
She was in studio, and Smitten Kitten is a sponsor here of the radio station, and also of the top quality personal sexual toys. Earth-friendly, body-safe sex toys.
That's right.
And it was just a great conversation. I know for her it was odd to be on a religious show, and she told us that. And, it's not very often that religion shows have the earth-friendly, adult-safe products. So it was sort of that moment at which we said, where religion has been overly restrictive in its expression of all of humanity.
Yes,
and I will fondly remember that show and how much fun that was. I
laugh because you used the word fondle, kind of like you said.
Fondly, yeah. And you had fondle in your mind. Sidekick, do you have a memorable guest? Do you have something you remember?
Yeah, I particularly enjoyed having, and I've never met him and never knew anything about him, but having Roger Olson, who is what college is he?
He is at Baylor University.
Yeah, he's a professor at Baylor University and
the Truett School.
And he's an Arminianist, which kind of in Christianity there's kind of like two tribes. There's a Calvinist and there's the Arminianist, and I grew up in an Arminianist way and left a sour taste in my mouth. So it was really nice to hear, a very kind of even-handed and, the delicate way that he put things. So,
yeah. We have had the privilege of talking with a number of world-class Christian theologians. Now, a lot of people might not know that there is such a thing as world-class Christian theologians, but in the discipline that is Christian theology all around the world, we have had the privilege of speaking with a number of them. Roger Olson is certainly one of those. Miroslav Volf.
Stanley Hauerwas
is certainly one of those. A number of people, and it's been really great.
Eugene Peterson,
the guy he wrote the Bible. That guy, the Message. It's been fantastic to use the platform of this show to delve in more deeply to the issues and concerns of these people.
Yeah,
absolutely highlights. I would also say that the conversations that I had with three religion broadcast legends.
Yeah.
And they all happen to be women. Was really a highlight. It was sort of a coup for me. It was really feeling I want to be a part of that. The three that I'm thinking of are Barbara Bradley Haggerty from NPR,
a religion and news reporter.
A religion news reporter. She had a book out called The God Effect, and had just a great conversation with Barbara. We call her Barbie, not we're buddies, but anyway, with Babs with Barbara was really great, and the friendship that came out of that. And then our first guest, actually, I'm going to go back 2.5 years to to one of my favorite interviews, and perhaps it's because it was early on, but I wanted to start with her, was Kim Lawton from PBS.
Oh, yeah.
Kim Lawton from the Religion and Ethics News Weekly show on PBS. Kim Lawton was great, and then to finish the trifecta of religious broadcasting legends, Krista Tippett.
Yeah,
just fantastic. I mean, those three people have really created the vision in my mind for how religion ought to happen in our world. That religion's not a little side conversation, but it's also not the centered conversation.
Yeah,
that it's part of our civic dialogue. It's part of our human endeavors. It's part of our religious. Part of our collective social conversation is the issue of religion. And I think that Barbara Bradley Haggerty, Kim Lawton, and Krista Tippett really have typified the great conversation that can be happening in that way. And for them to have been on this show was truly an honor. Yeah. So. And what we've been trying to do with these people, whether it was people in the religious field, was to broaden the conversation, make it more acceptable and more accessible to people. Because I know that religion, I didn't grow up in a religious family. I didn't grow up with religious allergies. So I wasn't thrown off, and I've never been one who's found religion to be something that is a turnoff. I find it to be a curiosity. I find it interesting. I think religious people are interesting. And then as one in my own right, I like to think that some people find religious interesting as well. So I wanted to broaden that conversation, but then also we were able to have some great conversations with non-religious people specifically. I remember our conversation with the two social scientists who wrote the book, The Invisible Gorilla. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but on perception.
I was here for that show.
Oh, you weren't? Oh, fantastic. They wrote a book called The Invisible Gorilla, How Our Perceptions... There we go. How our perceptions change the way we understand the world, that we see things and don't always recognize the things that we have seen. Fantastic. And then we had brain scientists on how on where our religious experience comes from. And then, of course, our two-time conversations with the Minnesota atheists.
Yeah, that was great.
Really fun. Really fun. The shared shows over Christmas with the Minnesota atheists.
And at the fair.
And at the Minnesota State Fair, yeah. I mean, we should talk about the fair in its own right. That's probably the thing I'm going to miss most is when Labor Day rolls around and we're not broadcasting live from the Minnesota State Fair from the Thunderdome out there on the corner of Randolph. And now, Brian, this is all new to you. You haven't, as the producer here, you haven't had the wonderful experience yet of broadcasting live from the Minnesota State Fair, have you?
No, not yet.
Oh, baby, I'm telling you what. Try to get that Sunday morning slot. There's nothing like Sunday morning at the fair.
All right.
I don't know what they're going to do on that morning. Maybe they'll pull the old religious radio show out of the archives, and we could sit in on someone's show and just have a little moment at the fair. Or maybe the television version of this show by September would be able to do something live from the fair.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, producer, somebody should jot that down. That's another great idea produced here.
I got it right here.
So why have we done all of this? Why have we wanted to have conversations with world-class theologians, with people who bring about religious conversation to the public sphere? Why have we wanted to include in that rabbis and guest hosts? Why have we wanted to include the good folks at the Smith and Kitten and brain scientists and social scientists and atheists and people who've thought that our perspective that's shared here on Doug Pagitt Radio is abhorrent to good Christianity? We've tried to do that a couple of times a year, brought on those who would find us to be the trouble in the world and let them tell us what's wrong with us. Why have we been willing to do all of that? And it's because I think that our world is made better when we're willing to listen to each other, when we don't demonize one another, when we don't radicalize one another, and when we don't overly praise one another, when we hold with humility the perspective that we have and know that it's part of what it means for us to live as human beings in our world, as spiritual people in our world that all are trying to find our way and make our contribution. And I think that our world is made better by that. And I know that that AM 950 is a political radio station. And I hold many of the same leanings as our listeners here. I am a progressively minded person, but I am also someone who considers myself to be an Indie-Publican. Somebody who's independent, who's Republican, who's Democrat, an indie Democrat, and I really do want to see us recognize that other people's opinions are held by them for reasons and rationales that are just as good as ours. And sometimes we are motivated by the better angels of our nature. And the reasons we think what we do come because we've got a vantage point that someone else should have. And sometimes, in all of us, what we believe, what we think, what we're committed to, what we're willing to argue for, comes out of some deeply seated fear or apprehension that's within us. And that's true for all of us. And the problem is, it's very difficult to parse those out one from the other.
Yeah.
So it is so important that we keep our conversations open, that we realize that we should hold our perspectives as purely as we can, knowing that when we meet someone, they might have something indispensable for us. And so we've wanted to model that. I've wanted to be part of that conversation, and the opportunities afforded here have been so great for that. And Rick is calling from Minneapolis. Rick, we've only got a couple of minutes left in this segment.
Hey, I've been listening for a little while, and I have a good amount of experience in radio. My parents were in radio as I grew up, which meant they were really tiny little people, but that's a whole other story. But you guys, the men and the women and everyone involved with your show, you're all great. You do a really good job, and that doesn't happen automatically, so I want to acknowledge you for that.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rick. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate so much your calling and listening to the station, and of course, listening to the show. Thanks a lot, Rick.
Sure.
Hey, and that's the kind of thing that, we have.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, it's really great, and that's the kind of thing that that I have sort of known all along, is that there are people for whom this conversation has been a important part of their lives. And as we come into our final segment and thinking about that, this wonderful formatting of AM 950 won't be part of our broadcasting future. We're so grateful to the people who have given us a chance here on the station, the people who have given of their time to listen and to contribute to the show, and we're just so grateful for all of that. And as we come into our final segment, we're going to finish with our right on, and we always give this right on to people, knowing that there's more good in the world than there is negative, and that which makes news is by definition that which breaks the norm. So that's why difficult things and bad news should be broadcast, because it breaks the norm. The norm is that people make this world good and right and beautiful in so many ways. And so we have this little segment called Right On, and it is truly the highlight of the show to give the right on. So our final segment coming here on Doug Pagitt Radio here after the break, where we're going to give out the right on, and really the crowning jewel of the final hour as it has been for every other hour. So for those who have given us a try, stick around for the final segment, Doug Pagitt Radio on AM 950 and DougPagittRadio.com.
We've been traveling over rocky ground, rocky ground. We've been traveling over